The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. This is the home for Autism Live. It is also the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm so excited to be here with you this morning because we have got an amazing 2-hour-long show for you. In just a few minutes, we're going to start with Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen Grampichet is here. She is going to answer your questions in real time, and you can do that in lots of different ways, and we're going to show them to you in just a second. But also in our second hour, we have Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Nancy Allspot Jackson will join with me, and we will go through a plethora of news. And we also have a special guest, Nico DeWild. She's a model and an actress who has gained fame throughout the years and who has come up with a special rib cap that not only has caught the idea of the fashion world, it's also something that our kiddos on the autism spectrum are wearing and noticing a difference when they do. So we're going to talk a little bit about what is so special about this cap that might make it something that you want to include in your repertoire of things to put on your kid's head. So we'll be talking about that in the second hour. But our entire program, all 2 hours, is meant to be interactive. We hope to hear from you. We love having a conversation with you in real time. So our fabulous Samantha is going to show you some of the different ways that you can participate with us. While she does that, I want to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, there's so much to do, but we hope that you'll take a second to watch either the live show or a recently recorded live show. You can do that by clicking on the triangle that is on the computer screen. If you want to go into other episodes that have done previously, you can do that on that page by clicking on the little memo tab that's in the upper left-hand corner. If you want to go, that'll show you the most recent, how do you say that? The most recent 100. That's what I'm trying to say. Episodes. If you want to go further back than that, you can look at any of the different ways that Samantha's showing you right now. Facebook, we're live there. We're on iTunes, YouTube, Roku, Stitcher, you name it. If we can get ourselves there free, we put ourselves there. And it is free. But I will tell you that one of the benefits of watching us on Autism-Live is something called the Live feature. It's the series of white boxes that's to the side of the computer screen. It's totally anonymous. So when you type to us on Facebook Live, people can see who you are, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to be anonymous, go to autism-live.com, put your cursor in the box that says your question, you type and hit enter. That's it. There's no login, no username, no password, no credit card, nothing at all. We don't know who you are or where you are, so I do ask you to give information about where in the world you are, just what's the closest major city, so that our experts and our guests can have an idea of what resources might be available close to you. And we have no better expert than the one that is here with us this morning. My friends, it is time for Ask Dr. Doreen.
Dr. Doreen Grampichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grampichet.
Dr. Grampichet.
Dr. Doreen Grampichet.
Dr. Doreen Grampichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. Well,
Good morning.
where I have dropped my keyboard a couple of times, and so because we go on live things now.
I see that you're
and,
missing some keys.
Yes, and I don't even want to tell IT because they will make fun of me. But we go on. One of the things we're not supposed to ever do is take it out of the case. But when we have to go live, I have to take it out of the
Right,
case,
right.
and that is usually when I drop the keyboard.
I see.
I am not the most coordinated of people. But in any case, we are here. For those of you who are just joining us, we like to have a little bit of fun here. And we keep it real because it's live, and so we need to keep it real. But I am here with the fabulous, the wonderful Dr. Doreen
morning.
Grant-Pichet, and good morning. And it's wonderful to be here with you. And
Thank you very
are.
much.
For those of you who are joining us, maybe for the first time, Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet is a true expert in the field of autism. I believe the preeminent expert in the field of autism. She has been working in this field for more than 30 years and has worked with individuals from very, very young babies up through senior citizens. She has been a driving force of looking at the whole individual when other people weren't, and segmenting it out. She was a voice of reason, saying this is a whole person who has a medical history and has biochemistry that's going on with them and behavior.
Right.
Excuse me. And she has also, I think, been at the forefront of looking at what's happening with the families. And I have yet to meet somebody who's more compassionate than
Thank
you
you
are
very
to the
much.
families, which is no small thing in this field.
I don't know how you cannot be compassionate when you, as you know, when we read these types of questions, it's just heart-wrenching sometimes.
It is, and I have a hard time explaining to people what it is like for families when they have no idea what dealing with autism is, and how hard it can be on a family, and how unrelenting it can be for some of these families, because
Oh my gosh.
because
yeah.
no one, even in the early, I'm very blessed, as you know, because of the treatment that my son got at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm extremely blessed, and I'm reminded of that every single day. But I do remember that even in the earliest days when Jem was diagnosed, when people were telling me it's going to be okay and he's going to be okay, you're just going to have to do, a lot of work, but
Right.
it's going to be okay. In that moment, you don't know that.
Right.
And I remember what that felt like.
Absolutely.
And I remember thinking, I can't make it through this.
Right.
And I know a lot of other parents that feel that way, or have felt that way, or that have written in today and feel that way.
The fear, I mean, what you talk about, Shannon, is very real. Obviously, it's the fear when they're very young, right? Of like, what is going to happen and how long is this going to go on? And then, and in some cases, as you know, there's, many things come together and the child progresses and gets to a point where it's more manageable, and as in, for instance, Jem's case, do very well. Some of the children do very well, and life goes on.
Yes.
And in some cases, things don't change, and it's has nothing at all to do with parents, but it has a lot to do with just everything, where you live, like the time that, if you were 30 years ago, you wouldn't have any kind of funding. Even right now, when there is funding, depending on where you live and what access you have, you might get completely derailed by the wrong provider. You might have so many health issues. I mean, it's just such a puzzle, as we know. And then it just becomes incredibly difficult for the entire family. And sometimes when I read some of these things, and it breaks my heart, because I have seen the very severe teenagers or so on, and I have seen, I just don't know. What I said to you before we went live, I said, I don't know how some of the families can manage it. And it's so many years, it's 20 years of just difficult behavior and just challenges throughout. And then not to mention the marriages falling apart, siblings not having any attention or time. I mean, it's an incredible burden on the families. It's incredible. And they're really, even though we've gotten much better, I just strongly feel we don't have enough help. We just don't provide enough help.
It's, well, and I know that you are at the forefront of trying to get more help to more people.
Absolutely.
And I do think it's important while we're talking about this to say that progress is available to really, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, all of our children. What that progress is and what the end point is will look different for every single child, but every single child, I believe, can make progress in some area.
Right.
And it's important to get yourself to the point where you can get the progress, and sometimes that's the hard deal.
Definitely.
But that's part of why we're here, to help
Absolutely.
in whatever way that we can, to help people to
Absolutely.
get to that progress that they deserve and need.
Right.
So I always like to give a disclaimer at the top of the show that you guys can write in your questions, but there is no possibility that any expert, including Dr. Grandpichet, can give individual specific advice. So when you write in, be as specific as possible and know that she's going to give you information of a general nature, which is not meant to take the place of getting, an appointment and being seen by somebody in
Absolutely.
person. But hopefully the information that she will give you will help to make that appointment much more effective, because you'll have more information of who to go to, where to go to, and what to say when you get there.
Right.
And you guys write in overwhelmingly how helpful it is. Sometimes when it isn't even your question, I love when people say, I learned from somebody else's question.
That's fantastic.
It is amazing. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in. Dear Dr. Doreen, I think my 9-year-old is addicted to his iPad. He is an only child, and we have been letting him use it for longer and longer periods, and now it's taken over all of his free time. He gets in the car ride back from school and all the way to bedtime. At what point of his day do we start cutting back, and how? He yells, screams, and tantrums when he loses access and when he has to transition off. It's bad. He has PDD-NOS and anxiety. We need help. I think it needs to be a gradual process, or it will be very difficult. Thank you in advance for your plan. And I picked this one first because I think there's a lot of people who can relate to this.
Right. And actually, I just quickly had an opportunity to read all of these, and the last one is pretty much going to be the same answer.
Okay, so should we talk about that as well? Then,
Yeah,
at the same
sure.
time?
Because the last one, although the behavior that we're talking, the antecedent to the behavior is completely different. In this case, it's use of the iPad, and taking the iPad away results in major tantrums and yelling and screaming. The last question, it's the issue of not having a parent in his room when he wakes up. And
Should I go ahead and read that?
Sure, sure.
This one was emailed to us, and it's somebody that we've talked to previously before on the show. Hi, Shannon and Dr. Doreen. Hope you both keeping well. I've been in touch with you before regarding my 12-year-old son who has a diagnosis of autism, ADHD, and also suffers from anxiety. He takes 40 milligrams of, I don't know how to say that word.
Yeah, Equisim XL, 2 milligrams of guanfacine, 8 milligrams melatonin, 25 milligrams Phenergan, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And myself and my husband take turns to lie on a camp bed in my son's room at night as he needs reassurance to be able to settle into sleep. When he falls asleep, we go back into our own bed, but he wakes every night and is unable to settle back to sleep, and so the shouting begins, and he demands one of us back into his bedroom. I'm at the point now that I just don't know how to tackle this issue. I'd really appreciate any help and advice you give. And again, so, these seem like totally separate things.
But they're not.
But they're not.
No, absolutely. Because what we're looking at here, Shannon, is it's actually, I love these questions because this is going to really apply to a lot of people listening right now. So the behavior in question is basically tantruming, shouting, screaming, etc. And in either case, it's a different thing that the individual wants, but it is always something that they want. It's so they're in the first case, the child wants to have their iPad. Right. So this is a tangible situation. Okay. So the function of the behavior is a tangible. They want the iPad, so they tantrum. And when they tantrum, usually in order to avoid the tantrum, we will give the child the iPad. In the other situation, it is they want you, the parent, to be in their room. So again, it's a tangible. It could be also considered attention. But nevertheless, what they want is you to come back into their room, and when they tantrum, you go in their room.
Right.
So in both circumstances, the child is actually using ABA to shape your behavior. It's not the other way around. That what your child is doing is, instead of saying, I want my iPad, or instead of saying, I want you to come stay with me, they're screaming, tantruming, etc. And then you give in and go in, and or give them the iPad. So in both scenarios, that communication of the tantrum is quite effective. It works.
Yeah.
Because every time the child tantrums or screams or cries, you actually give the child what they want.
And can we just pause for a second to say, because I know a lot of times people go, oh, it's my fault.
Right.
Can we just say this does not make you a bad parent?
Not
that
at
you
all,
did
not
that?
at all.
Because at some point when our children came out, they cried and we knew to change their diaper, and it set up a circumstance that we
That's right.
that we got used to and they got used to.
That's right. In
And
fact,
now we need to switch it.
Absolutely. In fact, it's funny because I learned this from a parent. I remember having this conversation many years ago, and I don't remember which parent it was, but it was a mom, and we were discussing the whole concept of, I was saying, at some point you have to realize that crying and tantruming and so on is no longer an effective communication. It's not an appropriate way for your child to communicate with you. And she said to me something like, oh yeah, you're right, because when they're born, exactly what you said, when they're born, we are, as moms, obviously all of us, Shannon, we're trained to figure out, what is this cry?
Yeah.
Is this a hunger cry? Is this a I am wet cry? Is this a I just need to be picked up and whatever it is cry? What type of cry is this? And so we're trained by the universe to just become very attuned to what's going on with my child. If they cry, I have to figure out what's wrong and give in.
Yeah.
And that is a completely appropriate form of communication for the baby, for the infant, because there is no language. Once language develops, obviously with typically developing kids, we tend to then depend on, then you have the 2-year-old who will cry, and what's the first thing we'll say? Use your words, right?
Yes.
Use your words. And so the child learns that crying doesn't work, using words does work. And then they'll use their words, and you'll say, okay, see how much better that was? Now we can fix it this way. And so we teach our kids. With our children who have a diagnosis, whether it's ASD or something else, we tend to, A, we have so much guilt around it as parents, B, we have so much empathy, and we just feel horrible for our children, so we never really want to put more on them. We just want to take their burden away, right? I mean, we do that with our typically developing kids as good moms. So basically what we do is we want to help them. And by helping them, unfortunately, what we do is we enable them.
Yeah.
And this has nothing to do with autism. This is 99% of parenting is this. It is extremely hard for all of us to not respond to tantruming and inappropriate forms of communication and to prompt the child to communicate properly. It's very difficult for us. So what happens with this child who wants his iPad, and this is a child with PDNOS, so this is a child who actually can communicate, but what he's learned is probably, what I'm guessing, is in both cases, the child has said, I want my iPad back, and parents have said, no, you've had it too long all day, and the child has thought to himself, well, this is, who cares? I don't care if I've had it all day. I'm going to tantrum, I'm going to freak out, I'm going to scream.
Yeah.
And
I have nothing to lose, because if you're not going to give me my iPad and it's the thing I want, then
Yes.
there's nothing to lose.
I'm just going to put all out.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you so uncomfortable wherever we are, in the car or at home or whatever, that you eventually give me the thing that calms me down. And that is the key to it.
Yeah.
Now, to reverse the process, and this is, again, this is not blame. This is an analysis of the way behavior is modified. That's just what happens with behavior. Now, to reverse things, it's just really clear. What you have to do is not give the thing that is being requested through the inappropriate manner, and instead allow the child to have a tantrum. There's really nothing wrong with having a tantrum. It is more stressful for you as the parent than it is for the child. If this behavior becomes ineffective, then you will have reversed the process. So in other words, if the child tantrums and you do not give the iPad, if the child tantrums through the night and you do not go back in, I promise you, it might take 1 day, it might take 2, it might take 3, it won't take longer than 3. The child will figure out this is not working. I need to figure out a different way to communicate. And essentially throughout the process, what you will do is now we'll set up a different way to communicate. The first child, I'm pretty sure, is verbal because this is a PDD diagnosis. The second child may or may not be verbal, I don't know. But regardless, it's very likely that you can even set up a nonverbal system of communication, and I'll talk about them separately. But essentially what you have to do is you have to say, tantruming doesn't work, but if you ask for it, you'll get it, but only for a period of time. And that doesn't apply now to the second child. The first child with the iPad, essentially what you're doing is, it's real simple. You pick 3 times of the day, an hour each, and I know you're trying to go easy on it. I don't recommend doing this, reverse fading it, because that's going to take forever. What I really recommend is that you just decide on 3 periods of time that your child is allowed the iPad, doesn't matter what they are, you decide, but no more than an hour each, or, so in other words, if one of those intervals is 30 minutes, you still used an interval, okay? That don't turn it into 4. 3 times a day, and that's that. So let's say the car ride, if that's something you want, a little bit of time before bedtime, and then maybe another time when he comes home from school. I don't know. You pick 3 times, and I'm being generous with 3 times, 3 hours a day, and then we're going to reduce from there. But 3 hours a day is maximum, and you just say, and you set a timer, and you say you can have the iPad. When the timer goes off, you take the iPad. Let your child scream and tantrum. Let your child scream and tantrum. Do not interact. Do not interact. Do not give the iPad back if he is still screaming and tantruming. Do not give the iPad back if he is screaming and tantruming. Let the time frame go to the next interval that is allowed. At the beginning of the next interval, if your child has calmed down, then please prompt the child to say, "Can I have my iPad, please?" Give him the iPad for an hour, set the timer again. That's it. You set the rules, and those are the rules, and that's what you live with. And the only reason that this is any different from the last child, the other child, is because giving the child an iPad to play with is relatively appropriate. It's just the duration of time that has become inappropriate, and that's what you're cutting down on. Now with the other child, parent having to go back in is not appropriate. No level of it is appropriate. So it's a little bit different. What you have to do is just allow the child to continue to have a tantrum through the night. I know it's a horrible thing to say, but you've been losing sleep for God knows how long. If you do it for a week, it'll be over. It'll be over. Your child will actually fall back asleep. It's just a matter of preparing the household so that other children are not disturbed. Your child may ultimately get out of bed and try to come to your room. So you're not going to get much sleep. What you have to do is literally stand outside or sit outside his or her room and let the child, and keep directing the child back into their room so that they don't. The child has to learn that in the middle of the night I'm going to stay asleep. And you have so much medication giving to this child, so much medication. 8 milligrams of melatonin, I mean, that's a lot just right there. There is really, you have enough going on. This has become a habit. It's not that the child can't sleep. And also, even if the child can't sleep, the appropriate alternative is for the child, if he wakes up, to stay in his own room until the morning. When it is morning, let's say early morning, even if you want, 6 a.m., you can go in, take care of the child, do whatever it is, but that's it. You do not go in after the child's in bed. You wait until 6 a.m. That's it. And it's tough, you guys. I'm not saying it's easy. I did this myself with my third child. I used to sit outside the room and I would not allow her to come out and I would not allow anyone to go in, and she would scream and tantrum for sometimes it's, and 5 minutes feels like 50 minutes. And it's a horrible experience. It is not fun. It is not fun. I sat outside the room crying when she was young. And my husband used to come and say, "Are you crazy? This is what you teach other people to do. Why are you crying?" And I would say, it tears your heart out when you hear your child tantruming like that. So I completely understand, but there's no getting around it. There's just no getting around it. There's no shaping of this behavior. The rules are being controlled right now by the child. You have to make the rules very, very clear.
Okay, so before you do either of these interventions,
get ready.
Yes, you have to get mentally ready, physically ready, and the physical space has to get ready to do that. So that if the child is going to be staying in their room, you have to make sure that there is nothing that they can harm themselves within the room.
Correct.
So that you don't have to worry about that. If you're going to be sitting in...
Or physical or property damage.
Right.
Nothing that they can throw, like if there are windows and such. If a child has a major tantrum, it is possible for them to get really upset and throw something through the window.
Okay.
So you just kind of want to cover things up and be very safe for a few nights.
And you got to get enough rest so that you can follow through with it. And that might mean that you have to tag team with somebody, whether it's the significant other or you invite your best friend over and say, "I need for you to be here during the day. I'm going to sleep during the day so I can be up for this at night."
That's right.
I mean, these are the things that I know myself from when Card would tell me, okay, this is what you'd have to do.
Yes.
There's the famous story of me yelling at Art Wilkie because he was showing me what to do when my son, I would put him into his car seat after the grocery store, he would be tantruming. And I was supposed to leave the store when he tantrum and put him in his car seat. But when I would have my hands on him to get him in the car seat, he would pummel my head until I would hear bells. And it was bad. And Art was explaining to me how to do it. And I yelled at Art and I said, "Where is my purse in this scenario? Don't show me how to do an intervention unless you're doing, and I have a purse. You don't have a purse. You don't know." Art, who is like the Santa Claus.
He's like the sweetest guy in the world.
He's the sweetest man in the world. And I yelled at him in a clinic room because he didn't have a purse. And he looked at me and he said, "Oh, is that what the problem is?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh, would you be willing to wear a fanny pack during this intervention?" And I went, "Yes." Because it hadn't occurred to me.
Sure.
And when you are underslept and under stress, you don't think of all the things that you have to do to be prepared to do the intervention.
And nobody likes being told to not console your child.
Well, I mean,
that automatically
it feels
puts
wrong.
us on defense.
Yes.
It's like, no, you're wrong. How can I not console my child?
It feels totally wrong. But that's okay because you have written in and said you want the help, you want to know what to do, and this is what works. But I'm just going through all the things that you're going to have to do to get yourself mentally, because you cannot do these interventions. You are going to cry. I think it's good to have somebody that a friend that doesn't live where you live, that you've got one friend that's there and one that you can call on the phone. In fact, that's depicted on the A Word, where the mom gets on the phone and says, he's crying and I want to go in there, and the friend talks her off the ledge. You got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and get ready, armament to do even to the point where if for the sleep, if you're going to be sitting outside the door and not allow him to come out, you might want to get a couch cushion or something that you hold up so he can't hit you and he can't get past you, and that you think about it from every possible angle to get yourself ready, and don't do the intervention until you've got those things in place, because it needs to be successful.
Absolutely. Now, I hesitate to say this because I worry that by saying this, both moms might stretch it a little bit. But here's what I'm going to say. Okay. There is a way to shape it a little bit. A little bit. So for the first mom, for example, she's asking, what time frame should we cut back on? What you could do is you could reduce it to, let's instead of saying these are the 3 time frames, like you could shape one of the 3 and then shape the other 2. But honestly, and also with this mom, like you could go in a little earlier, like 5 a.m. or something. But honestly, my experience is when it's gotten to the point where the child is shaping your behavior, when the child is tantruming, it's just cleaner if you bite the bullet and do it right from the get-go, which basically means just set the time frames that are okay with you and deal with it.
And I'll say this too, that once you get yourself all ready and you align your friends and family and go, this is what we're doing and this is how we're doing it, then, and you've gotten the rest to be able to do that, you also mentally need to prepare for the fact that it is going to get worse before it gets better. There will be an extinction burst.
There will be, yes. And here's what an extinction burst is. It's the child thinking, wow, this behavior used to work. How come I'm not getting the results that I expected? I'm going to increase this behavior. So the tantrum will become louder, longer, and more aggressive.
Yeah.
Just expect that.
And I always liken it
before it goes away.
I always liken it to the fact, I'm an adult, I have a master's degree, and I will go into my bathroom and I'll turn on the light switch and I have an expected response that the light will come on in the bathroom. But I have one bathroom light that sometimes it's like we've had it replaced. I don't know, it's wonky. But when I turn on the bathroom switch and it doesn't come on like it's supposed to all the time, I don't go, I guess the bathroom light switch isn't working. What I do is stand there and push it up and down like 42 times really quickly. I'm just being honest. I mean, and because behaviorally, that is an extinction burst. I know it's worked before, so I figure if I do it 42 times, it's suddenly going to come on. And if you think to yourself when your child is coming at you, arms, legs, teeth, and they're like, I'm going to get what I want. If you think to yourself, okay, all this is right now is he's flicking the light switch up and down until he's 100% positive that it's not going to work. And the thing that one of the card therapists said to me when I was in the middle of my son with an extinction burst, he said to me, be excited about the fact that you know that you have found exactly what's going on and the intervention is working because this is expected.
Definitely.
And if you will follow through, this could be the last time you have to do this.
Yes.
And that got me through. I was like, oh, okay, this is expected and this could be the last time and your life will get better.
Definitely. Oh my gosh. But, I think the biggest part of this, Shannon, is someone to take you away when this happens. Like, you really need control. That is just, when our hearts start to tear apart because we're hearing our child scream.
Yes.
You got to walk away from it. You have to resist. It's almost like our brains go into, I will find an excuse to go in there.
Yeah.
Oh, there must be something wrong.
Yes.
I have to go and check and so on.
And you could put a camera in there.
Put a
with
camera
a baby
in there.
monitor.
That's right. That's the best way. So you don't actually physically have to go in there. Don't engage in conversation. That's the other part of an extinction process is if your child starts trying to negotiate about the iPad or negotiate about you having to go into the room, don't engage. There's no negotiation. There's no response here. The time frame will start when you say it starts and it ends when you say it ends. It's hard. It's hard.
It's very hard. Jim and I used to do tag team where literally we would, tag in and tag out and you could tag, when I could see that he was starting to go, my husband, where it was not going to be good for him, I would say, tag my turn. And so you could tag the other person or you could say, I need a tag.
It's pretty amazing.
I need to.
Yeah, it's really incredible. If you follow through, it really, really works. And people say, why do I have to go to this extreme? Just because you've gotten to an extreme situation right now, just because when the typical age was developing, the child didn't have the understanding or comprehension. This is what happens. I mean, this is a lot of times what happens in real life with all of our kids. So you got to be tough.
But when you get through it, it's so empowering, and you go, "Whoa! If changing what I'm doing can change this, what else can we change?" And you will be excited. And honestly, your relationship with your child will be so much better because it's so much more efficient to get your needs met other ways than tantrums. And that's a great lesson we give our kids.
Oh my gosh, it's probably the most valuable thing, honestly, that you can do for your child, because otherwise, think about the fact that right now your child has learned to tantrum to get what they want from you. Imagine how much of a hard time they're going to have through life. I mean, you might be the person that gives in. Ultimately, tantruming is not going to be an effective mode of communication for your child. So you're teaching your child, hey, this doesn't work.
Right.
You got to figure out other ways to make what you want known. And, that's language.
It is a powerful thing. And I will say this, we talked already about how you have to get ready, and we talked about it with the child who won't sleep. But for the mom who has the iPad, same thing for you. Don't plan on starting this intervention on a day when you have to be at a birthday party and you have a business appointment and your mother-in-law is coming over. Clear the decks. It's a lot like potty training, where you set aside a weekend and go, that's all we're doing this weekend is potty training.
Definitely.
So, if it's that you want to practice going to the grocery store and trying the iPad in the car for the grocery store, don't actually have to need the groceries that you were going for.
Right. Absolutely.
Because you may not make it.
And if you have any other questions, please write in and let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. We should take a break, and then we're going to be back with more questions after these messages.
Hi guys, welcome back. For the month of May, I thought it'd be really neat if we made our own bird feeders. What's cool about it is once it's done and it's hung in your front yard, backyard, balcony, or whatever outdoor area that you have, your kids will be able to observe the bird feeder and tap when they see birds coming over and feeding from it, like, oh my gosh, oh, so exciting. Do you see that? Sorry, I got distracted. I'm just so excited about all the different birds I've been seeing now that I have a bird feeder hanging outside. Anywho, let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are 2.5 cups of birdseed, half a cup of boiling water, 2 packets of unflavored gelatin, a spatula, twine, scissors, wax paper, and cookie cutters. Alright, now that I got your materials, it's super easy. I have my boiling hot half cup of water, and I'm going to take my 2 packets of unflavored gelatin, and I'm going to pour them in and stir it. The reason I pour it in the water first all by itself is to make sure that the gelatin dilutes really well and I can stir it up real nicely. Now that it's been all stirred together, I'm going to take this liquid and pour it into the birdseed, making sure to scrape up all the gelatin that we diluted. Now I'm just going to stir it all up. Okay, now that this is all mixed up, I'm going to take my wax paper and put it on my table just so I don't make a mess. And then I'm gonna take my cookie cutter and lay it down. I'm also gonna take a piece of string and cut it, about 6 inches long. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill the cookie cutter halfway full with our birdseed mixture. And I'm gonna take my string, fold it in half, I'm gonna place it in the center. This way you can hang this up once it's done and dry. Now that it's full, I'm just gonna pack it in. So now that this is all compacted, it's gonna take about 6 hours for the gelatin to get completely hard. If you take it out too soon, the whole thing's gonna fall apart. So let's wait a little bit and I'll see you guys in a few moments. All right, it's been 6 hours now, so let's see if this little guy worked out. So I'm just gonna pull him up and pop him out, okay? And here's my finished bird feeder. All you have to do now is hang it outside and wait for all the great things you're gonna see. Like, oh, I see another bird. This is so exciting. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the activity and keep me up to date with all the different birds that you and your child see outside your property. Until next time, craft on. Bye, guys.
Can you see me? Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back to Autism Live and to Ask Dr. Doreen. We've got a lot of questions that are coming in. We're going to try to deal with as many of them as possible. But a question that came in our live feature. Hello, I have a sensory question. My 8-year-old son likes to jump off ledges and short walls and likes to land hard on his feet. Mm-hmm. Do you know what he is seeking with this behavior? His teachers report he does this at school as well. How can we incorporate it with breaks in the classroom? He likes to avoid his classwork and jump around. He yells when he's told to get back to work.
Okay, so there's a couple of different things here. The fact that he likes to avoid his classwork is the most important thing here. And whether he avoids it and while he's avoiding it, he's jumping or doing something else, it doesn't really matter. the bottom line is he cannot avoid his classwork. So there has to be a process where, I don't know, somebody can time and see how long he does classwork before he starts to do other things like jumping around, and that'll be his baseline. And so let's say it's 5 minutes, and so at 5 minutes you will want to reward him and give him a very short break, and then gradually what you'll do is in the classroom or whatever it is, you'll extend it and make it 6 minutes, and someone has to stay there and say, one more minute, and so that he extends it to 6 minutes, and at 6 minutes he'll get a reward, then at 8 minutes, then at 10 minutes, and so on and so forth. As long as he frequently gets rewards and is not allowed to participate in some other, to engage in some other activity that is not allowed at that time, he'll be fine, he'll focus on his work. Now the jumping issue is completely different. We're making a lot of assumptions here. We're assuming that he likes to land hard on his feet, which essentially means that he likes the sensation of how it feels on his feet when he lands. We don't know this. He could also here are 3 other options. One is he could also like the visual sensation that he gets as he jumps, so what it looks like when he's jumping and objects and what he sees as he's jumping. Another alternative could be he likes the sound of when he lands and the thump. And finally, another alternative could be he just likes to do whatever will get him out of sitting in class. So there's a lot of assumptions there. Let's first get the sitting in class and paying attention thing dealt with, and then we'll see if he continues to jump around and jump off of ledges when demands are not placed. Because you realize when demands are placed and the child engages in something else, it doesn't necessarily mean they like the something else. It just means they don't like the demand, so they're trying to do something else to avoid following through with what's being demanded of them.
Okay, and then let us know how that goes. Okay, I want to go to a question that came in on our Facebook Live. It's going to take me a second to bring it back up.
Sure.
Melissa has written in and said, I had a bad experience when my son, with my son with ABA. He's now 15, excuse me. Very well behaved, but scripting is an issue. Would the new ABA model help him?
Yeah. 15, I don't know what ABA you received, because not a lot has changed over the last 10 years, let's say, or 12 years or so. So perhaps you just received ABA from someone who wasn't very experienced or didn't know what they're doing 10 years ago. But part of ABA, to address the scripting portion, part of ABA is what we call generalization. So anything that you learn, you have through let's say, it starts out being quite scripted, which is very much kind of giving practice, the ability to practice, but everything that is learned goes to generalization across environments, across people, across stimuli. Like we really generalize, you're supposed to really generalize so that the child can do what they just learned with different people in different settings, using different stimuli, using different materials or the materials that are in the real world. So it goes to a natural environment setting so that it doesn't become scripted. It becomes quite normal. It's similar to when you first read, any individual, when they first read, they're going, this question is, right? It looks very scripted, and then over time you become fluent. Fluency is the process of not being scripted anymore, and that's the end process of everything you learn in ABA. So if someone didn't do that properly, I can understand that the child would be scripted. But otherwise, I mean, there's also a lot of people who don't follow the actual rules of ABA. Many years ago, let's say 30 years ago, the whole concept of identifying a function wasn't really there when ABA first started. It was just a matter of looking at, it was Skinner's black box concept. So it was like, if a good behavior occurs, reinforce it. If a bad behavior occurs, punish it, right, or remove the reinforcer. So it wasn't so much about finding out why what was the reason this bad behavior occurred. It was just like, this is a behavior that's not acceptable. We're not going to allow any reinforcers. And now it's a little bit different. It's like, if this behavior is not acceptable, what is the child trying to communicate? Let's replace it with whatever the child's appropriate mode of communication is so we can reinforce that. It has generally become a lot more positive, I would say, but that change must have occurred 20 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's been a long time that we're looking at function of behavior. So, you know, I would say, please don't give up on ABA. Please go back in, and ABA is incredibly effective, even for a 15-year-old. It doesn't really matter. It's effective for all people at all ages.
Wonderful. I want to turn now to a question that came in on our YouTube channel. DCR says, my son hates taking pictures. How can I help him with this? He's now 6 years old. He has never liked taking pictures. He says he doesn't like seeing himself or his face. Sometimes I feel he doesn't like what he sees.
I think sometimes we assume things. I'd want to find out a little bit more. Does he look in the mirror? Because that's where you really see yourself. The thing about pictures could be a multitude of other things. Like I would caution you to not come to certain assumptions about it. He's 6. It's, you know, at 6, we don't have a very strong image of ourselves and what we like and don't like yet. That kind of stuff starts happening more in the teen ages. So perhaps at some point he may have had a bad experience with pictures. Like it could be something as simple as a flash scared him, an unexpected picture of him. Someone showed him a picture in order to say something that made fun of him or that made him uncomfortable. I don't know, but let's first find out, can he look at himself in a mirror? Because if he does look at himself in a mirror, then we know that it has nothing to do with self-image. It has more to do with just the act of taking a photo. And then if we assume that taking a photo is a difficult process for him, then you do a simple shaping process. And the shaping process would just be, you know, you start with just holding the camera in front of him. Also, is it with a phone or is it with a camera? You have to find those things out. Anyway, you would just do this, and then over time you would gradually make it a much more reinforcing process. That's a shaping procedure. But you know, you would then make sure it's not with a flash. You would then allow him to take pictures, get comfortable with the flash, like, you know, use the flash at different times so he sees the flash. So we kind of have to find out a little bit more about what exactly is it, what feature, what aspect is it that he's averse to.
Okay. Wonderful. I want to go to this question. Hi, this question is for Dr. Doreen. My son just turned 2 in late April. He started speech therapy, OT, in November of 2016 and behavioral therapy, ABA-based behavioral therapy, January 2017, before receiving a diagnosis. I live in Hollywood, Florida. I contacted CARD and I have an appointment later this month. My insurance does not cover ABA, so as of now, my son is still receiving the same speech, OT, and behavioral therapy. I have seen improvements, but his communication, receptive and expressive, is still quite delayed, although better. I am worried that he won't improve without ABA. What can I do to prepare for my appointment with CARD later this month? Do they offer assistance with services? And thank you for your response. And she said, oh, I forgot to mention the behavior therapy he is receiving is only 1 hour a day, 3 days a week. Obviously not enough. These are what she wrote. I plan on signing up for skills and doing the ABA myself if that's what it takes.
Good for you. That's always wonderful to hear, and kudos to you for that. A couple of things. I want to just make sure, first of all, because you're in Florida, I want to make sure that you're dealing with the right card. There's a card in Florida, which is part of the University of Florida system. We've actually tried very hard to get them not to use our name, but because they're part of the university system, universities don't have to adhere to the same laws as it pertains to copyright. So we can't do anything about their name. There is a card there that doesn't provide services, that provides information, and I don't want to comment on them being good or bad, but they're not us.
Right.
So if you want to make sure that you're dealing with us, please go on the website, make sure that it is our card. We have, you'll see my face all over our website, but also our intake procedure is online. It involves a very, very long assessment, which is the skills index. So if you are going to be seeing someone for card, you will do skills, the assessment for skills. If you're not automatically doing skills, it's not us. Okay. So please make sure of that, first of all. Secondly, we are accepting Medicaid in Florida, and we will be providing services to a lot of families there just through Medicaid. So, I completely understand that you are gung-ho about doing it yourself, and I encourage you, and I say, good for you. And what you should do right now is go on the Institute for Behavioral Training, IBT.org, ibehavioraltraining.org, right? Yes. ibehavioraltraining.org, and start teaching yourself, use their modules and start learning the techniques of ABA. That'll always be good. Whether or not you have therapists doing this for you, it's still going to be very good for you to learn these procedures. And then the other thing you can do is absolutely get on skills. I mean, talk to the people who are doing your intake, and usually you should be going through our admissions department anyway, but they might be going through expansion department, I don't know, but whoever is doing your intake, ask them for the skills assessment, because that's a big part of starting at CARD, is doing the assessment. And right now we allow parents, because we're doing so many intakes, in April, did you hear that we did 216 intakes? Amazing. Which is unbelievable, yeah. But what we do is we allow you to do what's called the short index. So it's a shorter version of skills. And then later you will be asked to complete the full assessment, which is long. But your child is 2, so it's not going to be that long for you. And good job, by the way, your child is 2. You're getting in on like very, very early, and that's fantastic. And I want to support you, because parents who start these interventions when their children are very young tend to have a much easier time, because behaviors haven't been ingrained, challenging behaviors. So let us know what we can do to help. But what you can do is just to learn more online. Get your skills assessment done, learn more on IBT, and that's really it. And if you can't get therapists, then what I suggest is you become a member of skills, and then you hire students in the environment, whoever they are, high school students who are dedicated, and each of them can put in 5 hours a week, pay them minimum wage, and get them to learn from IBT and skills. IBT has all of the techniques, and skills, of course, will give you all the content. You absolutely can run a program yourself if you want to, but you will need help, because for a 2-year-old, by the time your 2-year-old becomes 3, you're looking at 30, 40 hours of therapy a week, and that's just not possible for one person. That's just not possible. It's way too much.
But I love, what I see in this parent, that she's going to do, he or she, I shouldn't assume she, is going to do whatever it takes. And I think that that's one of the greatest precursors to success, is that
Absolutely.
When the parent gets that mindset on, it doesn't matter what it is, we're going to do it.
Absolutely.
That's what works.
If you want to on IBT, you can go ahead and train and get your BCAT certification.
Absolutely.
You can become a board certified autism technician yourself and run the program when you hire other people.
And you can do it all online in your free time. You don't have to go to college and buy books and be gone during the day and find a babysitter. You can do it online. It's amazing training that will help you throughout. That's a great idea. ibehavioraltraining.com. And it's not very expensive either.
Not at all.
I think it's less than $400 to go through all the classes, and you can buy them class by class. So if you can't afford to do the whole thing at one time, you can take a class and pay for that one. Sometimes it's $7.
Yeah.
So I always tell people to start with the compliance one, because getting compliance from your child, proper compliance, it's like angels singing. Okay, another question here. Hey, Shannon and Dr. Doreen, why do kids with autism engage in destructive behaviors? I'm having trouble finding the function of the behavior with my 5-year-old daughter and 3-year-old son. We will clean their rooms, and within an hour or so, they have pulled every single thing out. not playing with it, just love to pull things out all over their playrooms. I make them help clean it up and monitor them as much as possible while they play, but it never gets any better. Any input is appreciated. I don't mean to laugh at all, but our kids want to do that sometimes. They just want to pull everything out.
But I don't think that it is, I can't really classify that as destructive behavior, because destructive behavior tends to be behavior where we actually take an object and destroy it. So kind of making their rooms messy, I think has, it has lots of other reasons. Perhaps the child is just, jumping from one activity to another, and therefore after each activity they don't put stuff away. It's just a habit of like, I want to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and so on and so forth. So my recommendation is, instead of allowing it to happen and then cleaning the whole thing up with them, you start to focus on teaching the children anything you play with has to be put back. And that is a very different thing, which requires you to sit there, and if they engage with something, you stop them from going and getting one other item before this one has been put back. So if you can focus on that, then I think the kids will both, and then highly reinforce that, of course. So you'll work with each child maybe alone. It might be too difficult to manage both of them, or you might turn it into a fun game. With both of them, and whoever can get the item that they play with and then put it back, you give them a reward. Like I would start with actually food reward. I'd have like little candies, like M&Ms or something, and I'd just sit there, and when someone plays with something, I'd say, "Oh, are you done? Go ahead and put it back," and I'd model and prompt and then give them a candy, and they'd soon learn that, oh, every time I put something back, I'm going to get an M&M. And then the next time what you do is you give them an M&M for 2 toys that they put back, and so on. But essentially, and you fade yourself out. But trust me, that's very powerful. When kids learn that the last thing they do in playing with something is putting it back, then you never have anything to clean up.
There you go. Okay, another question that came in on the live feature. Hi, Shannon and Dr. Doreen. Our young teen has always been more comfortable socializing with adults. Some educators have told us that he will become an adult soon and the socialization will come. By the time he's an adult, the current adults are in a different age group and his current peers will be adults. Will he be able to handle the adults when he's an adult? And thank you for your amazing show.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and sometimes we have a lot of kids who are like this, Shannon, where they have a more sophisticated lingo or style of communication. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons with this. Sometimes you have children who get along better with adults because adults are more accepting of and can monitor things better. Sometimes you have teens who are just more interested in adults because those are their interests. And we have children who have in the past had a diagnosis of Asperger's, let's say, who are incredibly advanced in certain areas, and they just don't have the tolerance or interest in mingling with younger children or children of their own age, because a child of, let's say, their own age might be interested in, I don't know, fashion, and this child, same age, is more interested in, physics.
Right.
So there is, it is not that later on adults will have moved on to something else. It is very common that we have precocious teens who later continue to do very well with adults, and it's totally fine. The only thing I find is that sometimes the teens become a little bit lonely, and then you kind of have to try to find for them other teens who are similar. And that becomes easier and easier these days. Like a lot of kids who are into gaming tend to be more advanced in their thinking, or into robotics. Like when you have a lot of schools now have robotics club. And those are kids that usually get along more with adults than with young kids. The more verbal a child is, they tend to get along with adults better than kids who are very motor driven or physical. So, I think I wouldn't worry about it, but what I would try to do is find different kids other kids in similar age groups who have similar interests. They don't even have to be similar age groups, really. Focus on the interests that your child has. What are the things that your child is interested in? Get them in a group where they can socialize regardless of the age of the other members in that group.
It's a great thing. We're totally out of time. I would love to spend more time, but we're out of time. And we do want to announce that you won't be with us next week.
That's right.
But we will still be here. In fact, our special guest during the hour when we would normally do Ask Dr. Doreen will be Corey Feldman.
Oh, wonderful.
Because in 2 weeks from today, and Nancy and I will talk about this in just a minute on Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, we're going to be doing a special event after the show that will feature Corey Feldman, and he's doing something for our kids, which is
wonderful,
pretty amazing.
Very nice.
So next week, no Dr. Grampiche, and we will be sorry about that, but we'll have Corey Feldman here with us. And then in 2 weeks, we will have Dr. Grampiche back,
right,
and we're
I'll be
looking
back.
forward to that. And thank you so much always for all that you do and
Thank
for all
you so
that
much.
you
It's
give.
always a pleasure.
It's amazing. We're going to take a break now and go to the A word. When we come back, it's time for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Nancy Allspaw Jackson will join me, and our special guest is Nico DeWild. She's going to talk about the amazing new rib cap. You're going to want to hear about that, and plus we have a lot of news and some catching up to do with Nancy. Nancy's having a birthday this week. I don't have a cake today. That's on Friday, but we'll still celebrate with Nancy. So watch the A word and don't go away. Come back for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy.
What are you doing? He knows more about this than I do. It scares me. We're watching Happy Feet right now, and it has helped us in his feeding. As per a suggestion, we stop it and make it fun for him to take his next bite.
Take a bite. Take a bite.
Not only did he feed himself his applesauce and laugh the whole time, he fed himself 6 or 8 bites of soup, which he's never done. He's done that 2 meals in a row. So looking forward to today. We're hoping that we've made a positive change in his eating, but we will try it at approximately 12:30, I guess. We will do the same thing. I'll give him some soup and some yogurt with a banana chopped inside. And I will try to get him to watch this and sort of feed himself. Right, bud? Come in! Hi. Where are you?
Oh, hi. Hi, Jack Riley. I'm my friend. Do you remember her?
Miriam is a new therapist working with Jack Riley. Today, she's shadowing Jessica to observe and learn from her.
So right now I'm just going to probe to see what he knows, so I can find a new target for him. What is it? No, try again. What is it? What is it?
Thank you, Sam.
Airplane. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. What is it? No, what is it? Hey, you need to do work first and then you get the toy, okay? What is it? No, you need to look better. That's unusual. You need to look better, buddy. Nope. Try again. What is it? Oh, do you want your toy? Toy? Okay. Well, what is it? Okay, thank you. What is this one? Snake. Good. What's this one? Door. Okay. What's this one? Whoa, hippo. That's so good. Hippo. I think we're gonna do chicken. And then we're gonna be moving into matching soon, where we're gonna match 2D pictures to 3D objects that we have to have momentaneous stimuli. So we're just gonna use like objects that are around his house, so that we have the object that we can match it to, so it's a lot easier. And then after he gets the identical, then we're gonna move into similars. So like different colored balls or different cars. Alright, bud, you ready? Okay. You ready? Ready? Give me 5. I got you. Oh, you're so easy to tickle. Hi. Give me 5. I got you again. You're so easy. Give me 5. I got you again. You're easy to tickle. Okay, one more time. I got you. Where's the tickle spot? It's right here. Okay. What is it? Say chicken. Chicken. Good. What is it? Chicken. Say chicken. Good. What is it? Chicken. Chicken. Good. Sit up though. What is it? Chicken. Chicken. Very good. All right. Here you go, kiddo.
Watermelon. Watermelon. Pineapple. 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 Watermelon. Watermelon. Super cool.
I know. We're going to do feeding
That's the
now.
one that's different.
Shireen was here, so I just gave him pancakes.
Okay. And happy feast. All done. Well, you know, we didn't even start yet, kiddo.
How can you be all done, Doug? We're gonna eat, right? Yeah, Bert?
So I'm gonna try doing it for
Okay.
now. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Just to see.
So here's the
play.
pause,
Okay.
and there you can just hit the
All
pause again and
right.
let it play.
Okay. So we're gonna take a bite, and then we get the movie. Take a bite and then you can have the movie.
2 bites on the soup after finishing the applesauce.
Okay. Maybe
Whatever you think.
applesauce would be better
Okay.
for today because it's preferred, right? Versus
Yeah,
other.
it's just,
Okay.
it's something he's always fed himself.
You wanna try it?
After 10 weeks of ABA therapy, Jack Riley's therapists are now working on feeding. They waited to work on this skill until they worked on compliance with him, since feeding is such a huge behavioral problem. They wanted to make sure that Jack Riley would listen to them before they started working on this. In order for Jack Riley to watch the movie, he must feed himself a bite. And since it's such a preferred item, they are hoping it will motivate him to eat. This is new for Jack Riley, so therefore the tantrums are going to be much bigger because he's not used to this.
That's good. Nice job. You did it. Here you go. Nice job. There you go. All right, let's take another bite. One more bite. Wow, very good. There you go. Okay, take another bite.
People.
Yeah. Is Mambo there? Take another bite.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me see. Oh, all right. That's good. Sony does that. What happened earlier? It's really just
In the chair?
Yeah. And he'll just step in and
Walk away.
just walk away. Good eating. So yeah, just don't even say anything. And you know when he's doing his thing, you can just present it again. If he still swats you away, that's okay. Just walk away.
Okay.
Because even part of it could be, the reaction.
Attention.
Yeah, the attention that he's looking for. And if you just kind of walk away, then he doesn't get any of that.
Right.
So hopefully that'll subside, and that's what it is. But we'll see. What works, what doesn't work.
Well, we had a great dinner last night with him because Cheryl does this dancing, but she's goofier than I am. But and he just cracks up and eats, and she kept turning it off, but she made it kind of a game.
All right, you want some more mambo? You want some more movie? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, happy feet. You give me a high five for eating all your applesauce. High five, you're leaving me hanging.
Jessica is giving Jack Riley verbal praise for finishing his applesauce because it motivates him. Feeding is a new skill for him, so each small step he makes is met with large enthusiasm. The hope is that the excitement that he sees from his parents and therapists will motivate him to do it again.
Right here. Oh, you got me. Want some more movie? Yeah? Okay. Here you Jack Riley continues to tantrum, refusing to eat his lentil soup for about 15 minutes. All he's had to eat so far for lunch is applesauce.
Jack, want a cracker? Get something more in you, okay?
You can take over.
Okay. Alrighty.
I
Okay,
just wanted
bud.
to see if he would feed himself the soup, but that's okay. We can do better another
He
day.
might just be mad now.
Yeah.
You want to just take a bite? One bite. Now we'll watch this. You kidding me? Do, do, do. Take a bite. I know. You have to earn it though, huh? Life gets tough. That's how you get paychecks. You earn it. Right?
Whoa.
Whoa. Whoa.
When did you notice that he had a hard time eating? Like, it's always been like this ever since?
No, this is extreme. He's very finicky. There's certain things that we have no problem with. Usually applesauce for quite a while he would eat on his own. Then he stopped, and we've just gotten him back to doing it again. Obviously pancakes he devours in the morning on his own. We just tear them up and he eats them by himself. But new foods and just if he's not in the mood. I feed him probably most of his lunches because I'm home during the day more often than Cheryl is. And she's more apt to feed him dinner. She probably does a better job than I do, but we do it a little bit differently. But this is extreme, to be this upset at his soup. I don't think he's digging the fact that the movie's just not on. Usually he just gets to watch the movie, and we haven't really tested him on that.
Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Alspaugh Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod.
Here with my pal Shannon.
And you're going to have a birthday this week.
Would you please stop announcing that to the world?
I want people to celebrate that you're here.
Okay.
And that we love you. And,
I love you too.
So happy birthday. I don't have a cake for you today.
Thank
we'll
you.
Have to do that on Friday.
But I'm getting up there, but that's okay.
Well,
we all are getting up there every year.
The alternative is
right.
Yeah, much different.
The alternative is not what we want.
Right. So, and we're thrilled that you're here and all the things that you do, and we love you. So, happy birthday early.
Thank you.
We'll celebrate it next week too.
All right, sounds good.
We'll celebrate the whole month.
My birthday month, okay?
Yes. And I just was looking at that beautiful opening that Samantha made for us, our new opening to the show. And I love that picture of you and I, that's our new picture. And I love all the things that picture means to me because you're like the Barbie in that gorgeous, gorgeous dress that I don't even know how much that dress was in terms of, because it was lent to you.
It was lent to me by Andrea's Bridals in Beverly Hills, California.
And you had to go and you had fittings.
It was like being a princess. It made me, I understand, how I guess Princess Kate feels when she, goes to something because it's amazing to have a dress fitted to your body, and that's what she did. She fitted that dress to my body.
Well, and you looked like a princess,
Thank
and you
you.
look like, you know, a president's wife, and we can't even put a price tag on what that thing was. And I'm there, and I'm looking good for me.
You're
but,
looking great.
But I'm wearing a shirt that I got at a garage sale for $3.
When you told me that, I was flabbergasted.
But I'm so excited. I'm like,
That
I
you
got
had-
this for $3.
I was flabbergasted that beautiful blouse cost you $3.
But this is the difference between the two of us, that you're there, you know, and you're excited about the fact that you're a princess and everything. And I'm
One
like,
night.
I got this for $3.
Yeah, you were excited about that. And
We
you
really are the
broadcast
yin
it.
and yang.
Well,
you
that's
know.
okay. Lucy and Ethel.
I love that.
So I do
Yeah.
too. I do too.
So I love looking at that picture,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh gosh, that's so funny to
And
me.
we both happen to be in that same shade of blue. So,
Yes, it was like
which
the
is
Vulcan
very, and
mind
very
meld that we all.
symbolic too.
I thought of
blue.
you this morning because I was like, I wanted to wear purple. I had to wear purple, and I thought for sure you'd be in purple.
No
but
purple for me today.
I don't know what it was then today,
Okay.
why I had to be in purple. But anyway, we have a fabulous guest that's coming up that I'm completely in left field, but it's Nico DeWild.
Yes.
Who's going to be with us, and he is going to be talking with us about the rib cap.
Yes, which is a very interesting new way of protecting heads. And,
Well, it's also a
skulls.
fashion statement
It
that
is.
people are loving this
Yes.
hat, but in particular, our kiddos on the autism spectrum,
Right.
that's got a particular attraction for that. So we're going
Right.
to talk
So
with
we'll
Nico
talk
about
about
that,
that.
which will be really fun. But we want to do the in the news quickly before
Yeah.
that, and there's been some intense news
Right.
again.
Everything being captured on video today is, you know, we used to not have this option.
And
now,
it's a powerful thing, but it's devastating when we get to see what really happens sometimes when we're not there. And of course, Nancy and I are talking about this newest video that's come out of the aide on the bus hitting the little girl. And we've
not
all,
just once, but twice,
yes,
slapping her in the
Kaylee
face.
Rushing is on the bus, nonverbal
Mm-hmm.
little girl, 6 years old, on the bus.
And this is right outside of Chicago, is my understanding.
Yes, in the new Lenox School District. And, you know, there's a shorter version that's going around where all you see is the aide hit her twice in the face. There's a longer version where you can see that Kaylee goes to hit her first before the aide hits her. But let's be clear about this. That is not an excuse.
A 6-year-old child that is striking out, there's obviously no excuse for striking back, as you said. And the child is nonverbal, and the child was obviously frustrated, trying to communicate, the little girl, Kaylee.
Yeah.
And aides need to be trained in this, in any aggressive behaviors, aides need to be trained in how to deal with it.
Yes. The school, New Lenox School District, is issued very quickly this statement: student safety is our priority, and we expect any service the district contracts with to fully comply with this priority, because the aide was someone that they contracted with. And the aide has been removed, and they're investigating. But it does make you think, how often does this happen when someone doesn't have a camera
cameras
on it?
aren't rolling, yeah.
Because it just makes you so mad. You just,
Yeah.
There's another case of, I mean, there's like cases of this every single day of teachers that are being brought up on charges, aides that are being, there's a new video of somebody dragging somebody down the hallway, and you just go, really, people?
Yeah.
And I want to say this, we're starting a new segment on Autism Live called Autism in the Classrooms, and we want for it to address this and so many other issues, to give tools to good teachers. But one of the things I want to put out there to our teachers who are good teachers, we've got, you're the front line of defense. If you see somebody doing this, you have to speak up. You have to. I know that it's hard with union rules and things and pressure, but you've got to speak up, because no one else is there to see it often.
No.
If there isn't a camera.
Yes.
Okay. From England, we've got some news. A dad who's come forward, who's very popular in England.
Very. Keith Duffy, I guess he's a sort of a megastar in England.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of who he is, but he apparently is in a band called Boyzone. And he also was on Coronation Street, so I imagine he's quite well known to people in England and in Europe. His daughter is 17 years old. Her name is Mia. She's on the spectrum, and she didn't speak until she was 7 years old. And he is part of a new TV documentary called Let Me In, and talks about accepting and embracing when you have a child with autism.
Yeah. One of the quotes that he said is, one of the most important steps for a parent of a child with autism is to stop mourning the child that they thought they had and to start embracing the child that they have. And you and I had a little conversation about this beforehand. This is a really hard thing, and there are different steps along the way, and it's different for everybody. I think that all parents of all children at some point have to accept who their child is.
Yes.
Instead of who they thought their child was going to be. And for some people, that's in the neighborhood of, well, they're not going to go to the college that I want them to, or they're not going to be a doctor. And of course, when there is a different ability or a disability, it changes the entire thing. And it can be very difficult.
It can be.
But I think he's right that it's a powerful place to come from, to be in the space when you let go of what you thought.
Yeah, stop, just, you have to stop mourning the child that you thought you had and say, this is my child.
But I think you have to, wouldn't you say, Nancy, that you have to go through the mourning process to get there?
I think that's true. I think there's definitely a mourning process.
And I don't think that anybody should feel guilty for going through the mourning process.
No.
But once you get to the other side, I think that's a powerful place to be in. Now, having talked about that, there's a lot of news about coverage and what may or may not be in a new health care bill.
In Alabama.
Well,
too.
Yes. And
you're talking about Medicaid.
Well, we can talk about both of them. These are the last two stories that we have. Maybe we should do Alabama first, because that vote is taking place any minute now.
Yeah, I think is it taking place?
It's today.
Today.
It's today. I think it's today. Perhaps it's tomorrow. It could.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But we've been covering this the last 2 weeks, that in Alabama, one of the last 3 states that doesn't have a mandate, first it passed the House of Representatives in that state with a unanimous vote, and then it got bogged down in the Senate because there were a lot of lobbyists from insurance companies that were lobbying against it and saying it's going to be too expensive, and so we're not really sure whether it's going to pass. Well, in these last few minutes leading up to the vote, Blue Cross Blue Shield had said, you guys really don't even need this bill, because we're going to cover autism even if there isn't a mandate.
Right.
Which is great. Let us not be mistaken about that. It's absolutely great. It is important to recognize that, and they wrote it out in a letter, because one of the senators said, I want that in writing.
Right.
Let's get that in writing. So they have written it out in a letter, but it's important to note that that isn't enough.
No.
And that the reason why they still want to get the mandate passed is because it doesn't cover Medicare. And that there are people in the state who don't have Blue Cross Blue Shield, and that's why they still need the bill. Now, having talked about Medicare, that segues quite nicely into the fact that a lot of people have a lot of questions about what is happening now with the health care bill that just passed the House of Representatives and the U.S. Congress.
And how it affects Medicaid.
And how it affects autism in general.
Right.
And one of the things that I found a great article from newsobserver.com, which was an opinion op-ed piece by Tracy Sharif, who is the CEO of Autism Society of North Carolina. Shout out to her. And I think it's a very well-written piece. Newsobserver.com is carrying it right now, where she talks about what will, if Medicaid, with the current law as it's written, what would happen to autism treatment. And I think it's absolutely essential that we all be aware, because as you know, Nancy, there are many people who have children with autism that are on Medicare.
Yes.
I would say as many of them on Medicare as have insurance.
Yeah.
And so this is a problem that we all need to look at together. I certainly don't ever want to be in a position of saying, well, I've got a job, I've got health insurance, so my kid gets coverage, but yours doesn't.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem fair to me. And she goes into great detail about the fact that Well, okay, Medicare also provides access to physical and mental health care services for individuals with autism, including diagnostic assessments, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, outpatient and inpatient mental health, psychiatric services, preventative and physical health care and medication. So it's not just about ABA. And she says all of these services are vital to some of our most vulnerable neighbors. Proposed changes to Medicaid, including block grants and significant cuts to funding, would likely end access to these therapeutic and health services for people with autism. And that's not, because we get into this bogged down into the, well, should they pay for ABA? Should they not? It isn't just as clear as that.
No.
But we know that ABA is essential. It's, each and every one of these kids deserves an opportunity to get the benefits of ABA.
And apparently there's already a lengthy wait period for services, 7 to 8 years, according to this article.
And this is one of the reasons why, what's being said is that we can't continue with the Affordable Care Act because what has happened is that people just aren't providing services.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important to not ignore that. But going the other direction is not the answer either.
No.
So I really, this is a really interesting read.
So once again, that was in the newsobserver.com if you'd like to take a look at that more in depth.
Yes. And then we will be watching to see what happens with Alabama.
The vote in Alabama.
The vote.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it maybe is tomorrow. I have my days all mixed up.
Okay. Yeah, I think it is tomorrow, the final vote.
Anyway, we got Nico DeWild coming in just a few minutes via Skype, so we're going to take a break and be back with him.
Hello, fellow activists. Last week, we talked about the first step to empowerment. Accept and embrace this challenge. Sometimes you have people that support you in your denial. Maybe it's your husband, maybe it's your mother. When I expressed my concern to my pediatrician about Wyatt losing language around the age of 2, his response, maybe he's a late talker, he's a boy. Let's wait and see. But what about the temper tantrums? What about the fact that he put his head through the kitchen window? What about the bite marks and scratches all over my arms and chest? He said he's probably just frustrated that he can't express himself. Let's wait and see. But autism doesn't afford us that luxury. Of course, I was relieved with my pediatrician's reassurances, but I should have gone with my gut, because if I had, I could have gotten a diagnosis 2 years earlier. And I lost 2 valuable years that could have been spent on early intervention. And finally, when Wyatt was diagnosed, he was misdiagnosed. But of course, part of that was my problem too. I lied in a lot of those parent questionnaires so things looked better. I can't turn back the hands of time, but I can recommend that you face this challenge head on. Denial prevents us from walking a path we eventually will have to walk anyway. The sooner you face the truth, the sooner you can help your child. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep the faith.
Being part of this community is really important to a mom with a son like Jackson, because it really does take a village, and you need so much support, to help bring out all of the amazing qualities and skills and talents that our children have. So I'm just very grateful to everybody who was a part of this.
I think it helps with all sorts of that self-esteem, social skills. They seem to communicate a little bit with each other, and they had a lot of friends. The helpers were phenomenal, and I think the social skills for sure, because they worked together and they did a couple of group things across the floor, and they sang songs together, and I yeah, for sure, I think it's a really huge deal. A great program.
What programs like this show is the person is in front of what we call today a disorder. I think what we're finding is that these sorts of brain challenges that make people unique can actually be gifts in ways we haven't discovered in the rest of society to bring them out. So when you see a program like this and you see the kids dancing, having fun, and making up jokes, making up the story. I was here when they did that. That was so amazing to watch because they were all focused, they were all present, and they were all laughing, they were all getting into the creation of this story. And that to me sort of broke the barrier to say, no, first we're dealing with people, and then we're dealing with the challenges.
And we are back. I always look at, I love that video. Both of our sons are in it.
Yes.
And we had a great time with the Miracle Project at that camp that that Act Today funded.
Amazing.
Two summers ago, wasn't that right?
Yes.
Yeah, two
Seems
summers
like
ago.
a light year ago, doesn't it?
It sure does. You look
Time
at them and they
flies.
look so young.
I know.
And makes the passage of time makes you so aware of it.
Yes.
So we are back now, and we are joined by our guest. His name is Nico DeWild, and he is the co-owner of RibCap, along with his partner Frederick. And Nico is a family entrepreneur, is what he calls himself, with a love for products that bring added value to people's lives in international environment. So welcome to the show, Nico.
It's great to be on the show. Thank you.
Okay,
We're thrilled to have you
we're
here.
thrilled to have you. Tell us, first of all, what exactly is RibCap?
Well, actually, RibCap, it's all about fashionable head protection. I have one here. So what we do is, if you look at the product, and this is one of them, this is one of the baseball caps that we are making right now. We actually want to combine fashion and safety. That's our goal. What you see nowadays in head protection, that it's always very bulky, it's very unattractive, and it's very uncomfortable to wear, especially for people with special needs. That's why we thought about the products such as RibCap, because what you see and what you get here is a combination of fashion and safety. And this is very unique because it's very difficult to combine these both. How we do it in the product is by using this special foam, which is integrated like this underneath all the caps and the beanies that you will see or online or in our shop. What's so special about this foam is that it's still very flexible, as you can see probably. It's still very breathable. You can the air goes just through it, so which makes, when you have it on your head, in combination with the RibCap, that it's still very comfortable and very light to wear. It's very light, of course, but then the outer layer is the shock absorbing layer, which absorbs the shocks when you have an impact over to protect you against bumps, bruises, and all kinds of impacts. And this makes it actually very unique because we can integrate it in any type of beanie or any type of hat that you would like. And what we do is I'll just show it for you in the camera upside down. If you integrate it into the beanie, we set it up like this. All these different pads go into the beanie. And this way you get a 360-degree protection, which is also with other products not possible because they are just not breathable and not as comfortable as the one we have. And what we do then is we make these fashionable beanies around it and fashionable caps around it so that as well as people with special needs, autism, epilepsy, or just people that want to stay active during their normal day activities can wear a head protection every day and feel just as comfortable as wearing a normal hat. It just looks like a normal cap and beanie.
Right.
And this is actually the goal of RibCap is providing a non-stigmatizing head protection for people with special needs.
In fact, much more than being non-stigmatizing, they're actually quite fashionable and people are enjoying wearing them. We want to go really quickly. Nico, you sent us a video and we want to show that to our audience, and then we'll come right back to talk more about rib cap with you. Take a look.
Super, thank you.
So as you can see, they're very, very fashionable.
Yeah.
Certainly non-stigmatizing, as you said, Nico. Tell us how this product was developed.
Well, actually, it all began in Switzerland with this product, where it used to be produced for your everyday lifestyle. People that go hiking, people that go langlaufing, ice skating. You know, in Switzerland they have a lot of mountains, of course. At that point, it was a Swiss company. A couple of years ago, Frederick and I, we acquired the company because we strongly believed in the concept of having a fashionable soft protection during your everyday lifestyle. But shortly after, when we acquired the company, we got contacted by Dr. Amy Hester from Arkansas, and she's working as a fall management specialist at the UAMS hospital in Arkansas. And she was actually looking on the internet, Googling for fashionable head protection for people with special needs. And you couldn't find anything at that point. And all of a sudden she came to us, she found us. She came to us and she asked us for if she could have a sample for her at the hospital. And the first thing we did, of course, after having some talks, was that we sent her some samples and asking, look, if you want to test them at your hospital, feel free, no problem. But let us have some discussions on how our product could benefit your community. And after 2 years now, we've done intensive talks, a lot of testing, a lot of feedback also from Dr. Amy Hester. And this is how we came to the product in the community of people with special needs. So we are now, I have to say, I wouldn't say fully focused, but for 90% fully focused on this community, because the reactions we get are so overwhelming, are so enthusiastic, and we do feel that we create an extra value, and we give a lot of these people, again, a chance to go out and to be non-stigmatized and wear something fashionable, which is a great thing.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about the chin straps, because a lot of times, you know, it can be difficult to keep an item on certain children's head, and other kids it's not a problem and that would be restrictive for them, but they're removable?
Yeah, correct. So what you see now with the baseball cap, for example, is that I'm just having it on my head without the chin straps, but these are just chin straps actually made out of a Velcro, and you can attach them here. There is a hook. You can attach them here on the hook, just close it, and then you can attach them like this, and then you have the chin straps as well, because what we realize also is that when you go outside, sometimes you need them, sometimes you don't need them. If you do need them, you can wear them, and you can just adjust them to the size of your, or the shape of your head. But besides that, if you don't want to use them, you can just take them off, and nobody will know that you will have something protective on your head.
And the other thing I love about this is how it folds up, Nico. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, correct. That's also one of the main benefits of the product, is that it's all about comfortable. It's all about usability. That's also a fact, because what you see also, for example, one of the reasons why people don't like to wear normal helmets is that once you're finished with, for example, skiing or other sports activities, what do you have to do with your helmet? You can't take it with you all day, or for example, in cycling. And if you look at the beanie that we have, for example, since the fact that we have this 360-degree protection inside, and it's soft and foldable, you can just fold it like this. It's very flat, it's very light, and you can take it away in your backpack if you don't need it anymore. So imagine you're gonna go walk outside, you have your rib cap on your head, you come inside and you wanna just sit down and have a cup of coffee, you wanna take it off and put it in your backpack when you're in the restaurant, just take it with you like this and take it in your backpack. And that's a very big advantage for a lot of people.
What has been the response from the autism community on this product?
Well, I have to say we've done a lot of trade shows the last months in the healthcare business, and talked a lot to a lot of occupational therapists, and they all come up with two major communities that could really benefit from a product like RibCap. One is people with autism, and the second one is people with epilepsy, because I guess you know more about it than me, of course. But people with autism, they do a lot of headbanging, they lose their stability, they have some uncontrollable motions. And then having a protective device on your head, which is as comfortable as a normal beanie or a normal cap, is good to prevent you from head injuries when you do the headbanging or when you do have uncontrollable motions.
Was Wyatt a headbanger?
Yes, he was, without a doubt.
And Jem, my son was too. And my son still likes to wear hats. He is somebody who seeks pressure on his head. And he would get that sometimes by hitting his head against things.
Wyatt would bang his head in his crib against the wall.
And the other thing for my son is that he loved to watch movies. It was one of his favorite things. But it would be so loud sometimes in the movie theater that we had a special hat that had flaps. I noticed one of your hats had flaps. And that we would take him and put his flaps down so he would still be watching the movie, but the flaps would be down. And I look at this and I think if we had had this, I know my son would have had a rib cap because it would have protected us and there were even times in the movie theater where he would sit there and he would hit his head on the back of the, it's just something he saw was pressure on his head. There are times, he's about to be 14, that he'll come up to me and he'll like sort of, and I'll push on his head.
Yeah, Wyatt likes to get tickles on his head as well, and he says, "Give me pressure."
There we go.
And as we know, Nico, a lot of our population has issues with seizures. So this is a product that can be used for people that have seizure disorder.
Yeah. Correct. And this is something that we also a process that we learned together with Dr. Amy Hester, is that actually the red line in healthcare for us is people with fall and stability issues or problems. They could all benefit from a product such as RibCap, because when they fall, of course, or when they have seizures, they're non-protected at this point because they don't want to. With the existing solutions, they don't want to wear it. At this point, to give you an example, we're doing some tests with the Veterans Association in the US in several hospitals. And they gave the people the choice between a rib cap and the existing head protection they now offer. And 95% is going, of course, for the rib cap, already for the fashionable look. And like you were saying, if you have a son of 14 years old, they all wear these beanie type hats as their normal beanies, even indoors. So why don't, now with this, you can even wear a protective beanie in combination with a fashionable look. And talking about the ear flaps, this is the ear flap that we were referring to. It's just concealed in the beanie. You can just conceal it, or you can take it out if you do want to protect your ears. That's one thing. And also, if you would talk about going to the movie, to the cinema, what we do when we integrate the foam is we finish, I don't know if it's clear on the camera, but we finish it with a Coolmax layer. This is this yarn. This is a Coolmax layer. And this is a yarn which keeps you, which regulates your temperature. So when it's hot outside, it will cool you down, and the other way around. When it's cold outside, it will warm you. It will keep the warmth of your head into the beanie. So it's like you say, when there is a risk of seizures, what you see now is that the the existing products are only good for indoor use or when they're in the institution. When they go out, they will never wear it because it's too uncomfortable and too stigmatizing. And now they could wear this.
Absolutely. And so where do they get them, Nico?
Well, we have an online shop at this point. We are talking to some people in the US, to some good companies that are willing to help us spread the word in the US. At this point, we do ship globally. We ship from Belgium. Everything is European produced. Our website is redcap-healthcare.com or redcap.com. We have two websites. You can buy them there, and we ship globally, and we can do a very good transport deal to the US, and it only takes a couple of days, so that's not a problem.
Okay. Redcap.com. Thank you so much for this wonderful invention.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you,
Nico.
Thank you.
What a wonderful product.
Yes.
We're going to take a break, and then we're going to be back to talk a little bit about the last couple of weeks and what's coming up. Stick with us. Currently, in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism, my beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're gonna take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
Second.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable and recovery from autism is possible.
And we're back. That was an amazing invention, that the rib
rib
cap.
Yeah. I mean, what a great thing, because it's something you can take with you that doesn't draw a lot of attention if you need that extra protection. And that it isn't something that's going to head up so much. Right. I mean, it makes a great deal of sense. We absolutely would have had one.
Yes, we would have too.
While we were working through the head banging thing.
Yeah. And head banging is quite common. So if you're a family that deals with that, please know that it's quite common.
And people are wearing them. It's a fashionable thing.
It is.
And so we have to talk a little bit about an event that's coming up that's going to air live here at Autism Live 2 weeks from today.
On May 24th.
Yep, that's 2 weeks from
today.
Right,
it's 2 weeks from today.
Which is like crazy to think about. But the fabulous Corey Feldman.
May is flying by.
Yes, it is. But Corey Feldman, and for people who don't know, Corey Feldman has starred in many things, was a huge child actor.
Yes, he was in The Lost Boys. And he also was in the movie The Goonies,
yes,
the Spielberg
he's very
movie.
well known for that.
Yes.
He has grown as an artist.
He's got his own band.
and it's called Corey's Angels.
Yes.
And so Corey's Angels, for just one day on May 24th, are becoming Corey's Autism Angels.
Corey is going to help raise funds for ACT Today, Autism Care and Treatment Today, with a special Facebook Live event.
Right here, 2 weeks from today, almost exactly to the minute, because at noon Pacific time, from noon, it's a 4-hour-long event.
Yeah, we're calling it a telethon, a Facebook Live telethon event.
Yes, and he's going to have a bunch of his stars that are friends that are going to be here. We're going to have people answering, talking with you guys online. People are going to perform.
Yes.
It's going to be mayhem
All kinds of
and
artists.
fun.
Yes, it will be. Probably a lot of mayhem.
Mayhem and fun. And it'll be live, so it'll be what it'll be. But we're excited, and I really want to say, first of all, how nice of Corey that he has offered his time and his talent and said, and I will ask friends, and there's already been a huge outpouring of stars sending in videos that will be showcased. Like, we're not going to reveal any of them right now, but you guys, your jaws are going to drop.
Yeah, some very big names.
Yes, and a lot of people say they want to help, and very few people put their time and energy into it. And Corey said he wanted to help and has put his time and energy into it in a very big way.
He has.
I think this really resonates with him because he has experienced some bullying.
He has, and he, I don't know, you maybe were out of the country if you didn't hear about the time he was on the Today Show, because it really
was fairly recent. What, like in the last 2 years?
Garnered a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Several months ago, his band appeared on the Today Show. It was a interesting performance, and apparently got a huge amount of attention.
Yes.
And there was some criticism, and he then went live on Facebook to talk about that and how it really hurt him.
Yeah, it made him emotional.
Made him very emotional, and he is a big anti-bullying advocate.
Yeah.
And he is very much in tune with the fact that so many on the autism spectrum are bullied, and wants to put an end to that.
Which is really remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
We really have to commend him for that. And so he's going to be here and doing a lovely job. And the point of it is to raise funds for Autism Care and Treatment Today, ACT Today, which Nancy is the executive director of. I'm on the board. There is no other organization like ACT Today that gives grants to families.
Directly to the families.
For the things that the families need.
Right.
There are some great organizations out there that give grants, and sometimes it's, we give grants for iPads, and there's nothing wrong with that, but not everybody needs an iPad.
Right.
And then there are other organizations that give, different things, but ACT Today says, what do you need? Write into us, and with the funds that we raise, we will give where we think the need is greatest, where these funds can make a difference.
But we pay the provider of the service.
Yes.
As opposed to it going directly to the family, it goes directly to the provider of the service.
And it's a lengthy application that parents do, which those all get read, and I'll tell you, it's devastating to read them, to see the need that is there, and we can never give enough money.
No.
You've given away $1.5 million, but it is not enough.
No, it just continues. The list continues. The waiting list is huge. And we try
Corey
to chip
has,
away at it.
Yeah, and Corey has said, let me come here, let's raise whatever money that we can. So not only does it support ACT Today, but let's support people who want to help,
right,
which is an amazing thing. So that's going to start 2 weeks from today, almost to the minute. It'll start right at noon, and it'll go till 4 Pacific time. And we encourage you to drop in and to tell people about it and share.
On who some of the celebrity guests are next week.
And to share it on your social media so that more people, honestly, it doesn't. If everybody who watched gave $1, it could make some huge changes for people who are in need. And
yes,
you know how great it feels to give. So 2 weeks from today, we're calling it Corey's Autism Angels.
Yes.
A Facebook
There's going to be some
event.
angels showing up to help out.
Absolutely. And then in other news, you did something really remarkable, and I got to give you big kudos because I know it wasn't the easiest thing in the world to do, but Your son, who is a brilliant, brilliant artist, has been tearing it up and winning some awards. Some of you may be aware of something called Reflections. That's a PTA sponsored event that happens at schools all over the country.
It does, and I guess this has happened every year for a number of years.
Yes.
Well, we entered the contest. My son Wyatt entered his art, which he calls Y art, and we call it eco art because what he does primarily is he takes recycled cartons, like Starbucks cartons, wine cartons, all kinds of packing ship cartons.
Because he has a smart mama who ran out of canvases at one point and said, paint this.
It got so expensive.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, what else can he paint? And he kind of just gravitated towards it.
Yeah.
So he did paint a wine carton, which we submitted. It's multidimensional. We submitted it in the art category. And he won the award at the local level, and then
he started at his school, and he won at his school.
Right.
Then he won at the local, like all the the district level.
Right. Then he won at the state level an award of excellence.
Right.
And Sam, I don't know if you have any pictures, but she's
good.
working on it, so we'll show you those. But it required going to San Jose,
which is quite the trip.
Right. So I drove to San Jose with Wyatt. And he was at an awards that it's amazing what the PTA does at this convention. First of all, it's a huge convention.
Yes.
And the program they put on for the winners was simply magnificent.
Yeah.
So I was very proud of him getting up there on stage in front of hundreds and hundreds of PTA attendees for this conference and collecting his award. So he'll go on to the national level now.
Yes, so we can't wait to hear when you have to go to Washington to accept that award, because
we'll see.
That's a coming. But I want to say that sometimes we feel like another thing I got to do, right? But you said, no, I'm going to go and do this, and talk to parents about what did it do for you and what did it do for Wyatt to actually go and make the trip and to participate. There's
here
Wyatt.
We go. Well, there's
Look
Wyatt holding his award of excellence medal, and that's, you can see in the picture there, the carton that he painted. You can see it's multidimensional. And what he does with these cartons is he paints them a brilliant array of colors.
Look at how beautiful. So it's the 3 pictures on the top there showing different angles of what it looked like.
Right. It was front and back. And you see how his use of color, how he utilizes color. And that's what he's passionate about.
That is what he's passionate about. But so what, was it great for him? Did he feel
it was great for him?
To
keep saying, I'm getting an award and my mom is here and I won an award, and to keep getting congratulated, I think was really wonderful. And I want to thank you for encouraging me to go, because when I found out it was San Jose and it was a 6-hour drive and all of that, I was like,
there's a million reasons why you wouldn't want to do it, right? But was it worth it?
It was definitely worth it.
I'm so glad. I'm so proud of you.
Thank
I know
you.
That's a huge undertaking. Sometimes when there's just like a thing
it was
that I gotta
going up
go
on
to
a
that's-
Friday and then attending all the ceremony on Saturday morning and then driving back that same day. So it was kind of exhausting, but it was a good exhausting. And I guess I want to encourage parents that if they have opportunities to do things with their kids that you think maybe, well, it's too much trouble, take another look at it.
Yeah, because it's worth it. It really is. And I think it builds their self-esteem, and it is, and it gives us that that thing of we're bonding with our kids in a different way. It's a worthwhile thing to do. I'm proud of you. Proud of him.
Thank you.
He's a brilliant artist, and you're a brilliant mama. We're out of time, but I wanted to take a quick second to say we're not doing a live show tomorrow because we're preparing for the Corey Feldman event, but we will do a live show next week. I know you guys have been waiting for Bonnie Yates, and so we'll do a live show next week.
Is Bonnie a regular now?
Bonnie is a regular when we're here on Thursdays. But so we're not gonna, we pretty much just had made the determination we're not gonna do the live show tomorrow. And but we will be back with all those live shows starting next week, and thrilled to do that. There was something else I was going to say too. Oh, well, we have to say happy birthday to you.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I also want to say too, I always find it interesting now on Facebook when you see who other people's birthdays are, and like what they have in common, right? That there you see, oh my gosh, that's so-and-so's birthday and that's so-and-so's birthday, and they all have that in common. So I want to say a very special happy birthday to Carrie Mallory Thompson too, because she shares the same birthday with you too. She's an amazing autism mom and one of our viewers, and a mover and a shaker, and I always think, well, of course you guys have the same birthday. So happy birthday to Carrie
both Tauruses
as well.
and Earth signs.
Well, you know, and doesn't that just say it all? I didn't know that that's what Taurus was, but
Yeah.
you know, one of Nancy's favorite expressions is "be a dog on a pork chop."
That's what I try to be.
She's like, you got to get something done. And I'll say to her, I don't, and I call this person. She's like, oh no, you got to be a dog on a pork chop.
Dog on a pork chop.
And I go, oh, is that
Yeah.
what gets it done?
Yeah.
From the
I don't
Nancy
know what that's a
Alstott-
Southern phrase from my Southern upbringing or not.
Be a dog on a pork chop. That's our parting word to you guys. We will see you next Wednesday. Until then, we want you to give your kids a hug from me.
And give yourselves a hug from me.
And until Wednesday, take care of yourself and be a dog on a pork chop. Right? It's a great image. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.